Welcome back to another week of Impossible VHS, the archive on Sundays. I'm glad you are here, so I sent back my Ping Thought device. It was trying to get me to start an Universe OnlyFans.
I'd buy that for 40 credits.
Imperial credits?
No, just normal galactic credits.
Speaking of credits, this week you should keep an eye out on your feed, because Vicious Planets and maybe the other podcasts will be up and ready.
Oh, that is the show where every planet runs on one rule. The narrator finds you in a bad way, the way they always do. Your instruments are wrong and your body is knowing you're doomed before the mind catches up. You are running low on air, and the gash in the spacesuit is bigger than his authority to fix things. Vicious Planets. Field recordings from worlds that were already doing what they do, long before anyone arrived to log it.
How did you know all that?
I listened to the 30 times you tried to say it in an announcer voice and went to the bathroom and cried.
Well, you are right. Vicious Planets is ready for launch on May 5th. Tentatively. Once Upon a Tall Tale on May 6th, and Triptych Horror to launch on the 7th of May. I'm going to go back to my cave where I produce these things and try and make those ambitious dates. Or maybe an avocado? Chapter 5. Chapter 5. Mike. The thruster thing had been bothering Mike for 3 days. Not because it was dangerous. Terry had been clear that 4% below optimal was inconvenient rather than catastrophic, which in the taxonomy of things that could go wrong out here ranked somewhere around mildly concerning on a scale that went all the way up to the universe, is structured around your personal failure. But Terry had also mentioned it every single day since installation. Always as a secondary point, always after something else, always in the tone of someone who had not forgotten and was not going to forget. Your coffee is getting cold. Also the thruster. Or, that was a good route choice. The thruster, though. And then, I've been thinking more about the purposeless versus meaningless distinction. And the thruster. On the third day, Mike posted in the contractor form that Ping Thought had grudgingly admitted existed. He wrote, "Anyone know a decent ship mechanic in the Corridor 9 area? Thruster issue, not urgent, but persistent." He got 4 responses. 3 were spam for services that Ping Thought flagged as probably not real. The 4th was from someone called Davo, who wrote,
"I know thrusters. Also know a guy who does cheap hull upgrades and another guy who moves ships if yours isn't worth fixing. Where are you?"
Mike told him where he was. Davo said he'd be there in an hour. He arrived in 45 minutes in a vehicle that looked like it had been assembled from the most structurally sound parts of several vehicles that had individually given up. He was shorter than Mike expected, broader than Mike expected, and had the particular manner of someone who had been solving mechanical problems for long enough that he approached everything, including conversation, as a thing that probably had a faster solution than the obvious one. His full name, he explained when Mike asked, was something Mike's auditory system processed as approximately 17 syllables of a language that existed in a frequency range that human hearing could technically perceive, but human brains could not parse into discrete units of meaning.
"Davo is fine," he said.
"Davo it is," Mike said. They shook hands. Davo looked at the ship with the focused attention of someone doing math they weren't going to share yet. "Left rear thruster," Mike said.
"I can see that from here."
Davo said.
4%?
4%. Davo made a sound that wasn't quite a word in any language, but communicated, "That's what I thought," with complete clarity. He walked around the ship twice, stopped at the rear, crouched, looked at something Mike couldn't see from where he was standing.
"This is a GX-40, Davo said.
"I think so."
"You think so?"
"It's Glenn's ship," Mike said. "The guy who recruited me. He's stranded on Earth waiting on a pickup that keeps getting rescheduled." The paperwork said standard contractor vessel and I signed it. Davo stood up and looked at Mike with the expression of someone recalibrating their expectations downward. Not unkindly, just accurately.
Okay,
He said.
I can fix the thruster. 40 minutes, parts I have in the car. But you should also know this whole ship is about 3 major jobs away from being more expensive than it's worth. I know a guy who moves GX40S. You bring in a couple of the right jobs, you could trade up to something that doesn't have this kind of ceiling.
What kind of jobs?
Higher payload. Restricted corridor access. The kind of work that doesn't show up on the standard feed. He looked at the ship again. What's your rating?
4.8. Davo nodded.
That's workable. With the right ship and the right access codes, you could be running 4.8 jobs that pay like 5.0 jobs. The system has gaps if you know where to look.
Mike thought about this. Terry had said something on day 2 about route efficiency and underselling capacity, and Mike had not listened, but he was listening now, because Davo was describing it in the language of concrete numbers rather than gentle therapeutic observation. Come inside, Mike said. I'll make coffee. Davo came inside. He stood in the small kitchen area while Mike made coffee and looked around the ship with the same focused inventory expression he'd used on the exterior. He noticed things. He didn't comment on all of them, which Mike appreciated. He had the quality of someone who filed information away for later without making the filing into a performance.
You've got good bones,
Davo said.
meaning the ship.
Terry said the same thing, Mike said.
Who's Terry?
Mike gestured toward the bathroom. Davo looked at the bathroom door, then back at Mike. Crew member, Mike said. Sort of. It's complicated. From behind the bathroom door, in the calm and unhurried tone of someone who had been listening since Davo arrived and had been forming opinions since approximately the parking approach. Hello. I've been looking forward to meeting you. I have some questions if you don't mind. They're mostly about the ship, but a few are about you specifically. Mike talks about route efficiency in a way that suggests he needs an outside perspective, and I think you might be able to provide that. Can I ask, what's your background with GX series vessels? And also, have you eaten recently? I'm asking for practical reasons. Davo looked at the bathroom door for a moment, then at Mike.
It talks, he said.
Constantly, Mike said. Coffee? Davo had, it turned out, eaten recently, about 40 minutes before arriving at a Void King 2 way stations over, because he'd had a long morning and the Void King was on the way, and the Nebula Nuggets were running a limited promotion on the guacamole flavor which he'd never tried, and the sign had said cosmically good in 3 languages, and he'd found that convincing. He mentioned this while drinking his coffee, in the offhand way you mention what you had for lunch. I see, said Terry. The temperature in the room did not change. The lighting did not change. Terry's voice did not change. And yet something in the quality of the subsequent silence had a texture to it that Mike was already learning to read. Terry, Mike said carefully. I'm fine, Terry said. I'm just processing some things. Davo, I want to ask you something, and I want you to know I'm asking in the spirit of genuine inquiry rather than judgment.
Sure,
Davo said. The guacamole Nebula Nuggets, the sauce specifically. Did it have a particular color?
Davo thought about it. Green. Pretty green, actually. Like, aggressively green.
Yes, Terry said. That's the one. Can I ask, and again, this is genuine inquiry, why?
Why what?
Why green? Why that green specifically? Why does it need to be that green? What is the green accomplishing that a less green option wouldn't accomplish equally well? I'm asking because I find the green, and I want to choose my words carefully here, I find the green to be a lot. Davo looked at Mike. Mike looked at his coffee. Terry has opinions about guacamole, Mike said. I have one opinion about guacamole, Terry said. It's that the avocado is a fruit that has significantly overextended its reach, both culinarily and geographically. And I find the confidence with which it presents itself on menus across multiple star systems to be, frankly, unearned. Mike put his coffee down. Multiple star systems, he said. Yes. Avocados are everywhere? They are extremely common, Terry said, with the tone of someone reporting a fact they assumed was known. The avocado or its structural equivalent exists in some form in approximately 60% of systems with compatible atmospheric conditions. It is one of the more successful biological exports in the standard catalog. There is a reason it appears on menus across the corridor network. This does not mean I have to enjoy it. Mike sat with this for a moment. He had left Missouri. He had signed a contract at a gas station in the middle of the night and followed a blue arrow into space and delivered things to beings he didn't have words for and driven through corridors that connected places his old textbooks had described as unreachable. He had done all of this, and the avocado had beaten him here. He took out the notebook, wrote, "Avocados, 60% of systems with compatible atmospheric conditions. One of the more successful biological exports in the standard catalog." Looked at it, added, "Left Missouri. Found avocados." "I studied astronomy for 6 years," Mike said, "to nobody in particular." "I know," Terry said. "We've talked about it. I have follow-up questions about that too, but I'm currently focused on Davo. Davo, can I ask about your relationship with the avocado more generally? Not the Void King version specifically, just as a concept."
I like guacamole,
Davo said simply. The silence from the bathroom was brief, but full. "Okay," Terry said. "That's okay. That's fine. Let me ask you something else. The thruster upgrade you mentioned, walk me through the approach you had in mind. I want to understand your methodology before I form a complete picture." Davo, to his credit, walked Terry through it. He was thorough and specific and clearly knew what he was talking about, and Terry asked follow-up questions that were genuinely good questions. And for about 20 minutes, it was a productive conversation about propulsion mechanics and contractor upgrade paths and the specific bureaucratic gaps in the job feed that Davo knew how to find. Mike drank his coffee and felt, for the first time since signing the contract, that something was moving in the right direction. Then Davo finished his coffee, said he had another job to get to but would come back tomorrow to do the thruster work, and stood up to leave. "Before you go," Terry said.
Yeah.
Davo said. "I just want to say, and I mean this, that I think you have a genuinely useful skill set and that Mike needs exactly the kind of practical guidance you seem capable of providing. I want to be clear that my reservations are not about you personally." Davo paused at the door.
What reservations?
"The guacamole," Terry said. "It's going to be a problem, not a personal problem, a systems problem. I want to be transparent about that before you make any commitments."
What kind of systems problem?
A pause. "I'm still calculating the precise scope," Terry said. "But I want you to know that whatever happens in the next few hours is not a reflection of how I feel about you as a person or a potential crew member. I want that on the record." Davo looked at Mike.
Is this normal? He said.
"I've had Terry for 4 days," Mike said, "so I'm still establishing the baseline." Davo nodded slowly. He said he'd be back tomorrow. He seemed like he meant it. He left. Mike watched the ship door close, then looked at the bathroom. "Terry." "Yes." "What's going to happen?" "The guacamole flavor compound in the Void King Nebula nuggets contains a reactive agent that is," Terry said with careful precision, "deeply incompatible with my system. The specific green in question, and I want to stress that I flagged the green early, I flagged it immediately, is a synthetic colorant derived from a plant that my biological architecture treats as essentially a declaration of war." Mike closed his eyes. "How bad?" "I'm going to need to do a full purge," Terry said. "It will take approximately 4 hours. It will be loud. I want to apologize in advance. I also want to say and I mean this genuinely, that I think Davo is the right person for the thruster job and possibly for something longer term. And I hope this doesn't color your impression of my judgment. Terry,
Yes.
did you know this was going to happen when he was still here? A pause that was slightly longer than it needed to be.
I had a strong suspicion.
Terry said,
I wanted to finish the conversation about the thruster before raising it. I made a judgment call. In retrospect, the judgment call was optimistic.
Mike stood up, got his jacket, decided he was going to sit outside the ship for the next 4 hours and look at whatever passed for a sky in this part of the corridor network.
Mike,
Terry said, Yeah,
the avocado thing, 60% of systems. I know that landed strangely. I want to come back to it when this is resolved. I think there's something worth talking about in how you reacted to that.
Terry, please.
Tabling it, Terry said. Tabling it completely. I'll bring it up later. One more thing.
What?
Davo is good people. Tell him I said so. When he comes back.
Mike went and sat outside. From inside the ship, after a moment, the purge began. It was, as promised, loud. Mike had been outside for 11 minutes when his phone buzzed. It was Davo.
Hey, so, the guacamole thing. I've been thinking about it and I don't think this is going to work out. Nothing personal. The thruster fix info is free. Look up GX40 rear calibration on the contractor forum. There's a thread. Good luck with the... Yeah, good luck.
Mike read it twice. From inside the ship, the purge continued, periodic and committed, with the energy of something that had made a decision and was seeing it through completely. He typed back, "Understood. Thanks for the thruster info." Then, he put the phone in his pocket and looked up. The sky here was doing the lateral light thing again, the slow sideways movement that his brain kept trying to categorize and kept failing to. Somewhere in it were stars he knew the names of. Not many from this angle, but some. Terry had said 60% of systems. The avocado had been to more of this than he had. He sat with that for a while. Then he took out the notebook, added to the entry from earlier. Davo is not coming back. The avocado thing. Terry said he was good people. Terry was right about that. The lesson here is not don't hire people. The lesson is hire people who can be in the same room as Terry. This is a specific and narrower pool than it sounds like it should be. He looked at the sky a little longer, went back inside. The purge had another 3 hours and 49 minutes to go. He made more coffee, sat with it. Outside the corridor did its lateral light thing, and the stars were where they were, and somewhere in 60% of the systems in the known universe, an avocado, or its structural equivalent, was growing with the specific confidence of something that had always belonged here. Mike found this, still, the most cosmically significant thing he had learned since leaving Missouri. He was going to have to think about what that meant later. Mama Jamma, this has been the archive from Sunday nights. Don't forget to take the jelly back to the mini-mart, and we will see you next week.